My name's Jeff. Jeff Van Winden from Toronto, Ontario, well, Toronto area in Canada. I started building this castle in June, and originally I had a plan to build like a rectangular castle. Built it in a small base plate scale and didn't like the look of it. So I ended up trying to think of new tower designs, and I came up with using this wedge plate here in order to make give me better angles, 45 degrees. Sorry, put that there. Okay. So I basically, sorry, Josh. I basically, figured out the size of the tower to go with. Figured out how to enclose it as much as possible. Figured out the walls along the edges here as well. And then from that point, it was like, okay, I'll build a round castle because now I can use these angled 45 degrees. And as my brain started working, it's like, no, a spiral would be pretty cool. And then I could start with the longest wall being, 60-something studs, drop it down by 4 studs each section. And that gave me a spiral. And then I'm like, but it should also climb a hill because then it's more defensible. So that led me to the final solution, and then it was just trying to figure out how big to make it. So it worked out to be 6 feet by 8 feet with a little bit of filler at the front for the 8 feet part. But and then I hadn't decided what the keep part of the castle was going to be until November, December. And at that point, I started working with my sister, actually, who isn't a Lego fan, and started following me recently. And she's like, oh, well, why don't we try this? Why don't we try this type thing over phone calls and pictures? And we came up with an inner keep design that was still kind of following the same octagonal towers, but just a smaller design. So
yeah, there's so much going on here. I love the spiral idea here. So I don't know if I've ever really seen that with a castle before, but then your tower design works really well, so you're able to just kind of fit those walls in at whatever angle of the tower.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know a lot about castle history, but I did know that, they usually, someone would become rich and famous, or, rich, and they would, not famous, but, they would build their house on top of a higher thing because it's more defensible. And then as people come to live near them, they would build around them. So, you get the village inside the castle, and as the village grows, the castle also gets bigger, right? You have the different levels of walls. So,
what types of pieces did you use in the towers and walls here to kind of add variety and just not just one giant all the same color gray wall?
Obviously, the different shades of gray, the old grays, the new grays, light and dark, plus all the weathered grays. Like I purposely was going onto BrickLink and ordering parts from people that had, color variations or like not the best quality, because A, they were cheaper, and B, it works out well because it's a castle and it's really old and it's rock and it's not going to always be the same color. So as for parts, I also used these the ingots inside the arrow slits as a design. Like the ingot gives it a nice little curve and makes it a little bit more, I don't know, realistic to me. Like it was more of a cool design, I guess.
No, that works really well. So talk about kind of the pathway then and how you elevated that, because obviously it starts down here at kind of ground level and makes its way up.
It starts at ground level, and basically on any area that's the same length as a wall, it goes up 4 plates, or it goes up a plate every 4 studs. Then at the tower parts, it levels off for 10-ish studs or so, and then the next section comes up 4 studs, and that gave me a total height of around 35 bricks in the center for the ground level.
What did you use to build up the center part so high there? Is that all just brick underneath there?
It is all, back in the LugNet days, someone came up with the idea of doing a lattice structure where you have columns of 2x2 bricks, and then you have 2x4 bricks kind of fanning out on each corner, and they connect to more 2x2s. So I used a lattice structure inside the castle. I ended up having to contact one of my good friends who had a lot of extra brick that he wasn't using, and he let me borrow his 2x brick. I contacted another one of my friends who had Duplo brick, in like 1,000 black Duplo bricks, and I use those in there. Those are easy to return back later because I know who's there. But yeah, it's a huge investment in brick, and thankfully without my friends I wouldn't have been able to do it. But yeah.
There you go. It's nice to have people who can help you out and provide pieces for some of these very large projects.
Yeah, for sure.
You've got in some of the sides here of the castle this technique that I really like, which is like a stained glass window look using those gate type pieces.
Yep, the fences with just trans brick or trans tile inside of it. I wanted to light it. I just didn't have time to do this or to do it. I honestly didn't have any lighting kits to work with at that point. So I might eventually give it a bit of a candle effect inside. There is technically areas on the bottom floor. There is a great hall and there is a barracks. And there's a kitchen area, but nothing's detailed because I can't really get in there to show it off. So it was one of those that I thought about doing it and then realized, no, I can't really pull a wall away just because of the design. It's just too small to do that. So.
Well, the castle's fantastic. We can make our way out to the front now then. Take us through kind of some of the action out here.
So yeah, again, this was a little bit of filler just because I wanted to kind of go to the edge of the tables. But I've always, when I do a castle, I've always tried to have like a jousting area. And I realized that I could have a whole, I want to say a medieval fair, but it's not really, well, I guess it is a medieval fair. It just would have been a fair at that point. And so I decided I wanted to have a bit of a fair here with like the jousting ring. Also a couple of areas for knights or for guys to be sparring, I guess would be the word. And then an archery area to finish it off. I do plan to add a few more extra details. I want to actually build like a mini scale yellow castle bouncy house just for the fun of it and put it somewhere in here just with some kids running around. I thought that would be kind of funny. And maybe a streaker running across the archery area. You can cut that out if you want to.
That's great. I love the ideas. Now, as a fan of the older Lego castle themes, we got to point out some of these fantastic minifigures you've included here. So what are some of your favorite themes and minifigures that you were able to include? One thing that catches my eye is the old princess minifigure right here, but what are some of your other favorites?
For me, it was the Crusaders, the first grade castle characters. Black Knights as well. I just don't have as many. But I've always built in the Crusader style, like the Crusader color of castle, which normally is, I think, red and yellow flags. I ended up going with blue and yellow just because I was looking at all the different types of shields that they had, like Crusaders and the shields with the crowns on them. And they all tend to have blues and yellows in it, so I thought that would be, a theme that I would go with.
And you've even got some of the like forest men archers in this section.
Yeah, I basically I brought all my castle guys pretty much. I do love all the factions that are there. And I mean it's a peaceful time, it's a fair. So everybody's going to come out to compete. So, all the different factions are here. The only characters I didn't put out were like the trolls and those guys just because I didn't know how I could work that in to a story. I'm debating. There is on the back corner, there is a cave that I had built. It's not decorated, but I thought maybe I could put trolls in there or something. But it's not decorated or lit. So until I can get that done, then maybe I'll do them. That they're kind of trying to sneak back into the castle.
Possibilities to expand and add on it. Do you plan to add anything more to the layout?
Yeah, so I mean we did shows in Toronto years ago, BrickFair. Hopefully it comes back at some point. But I'd always build a castle and then we'd say, this is the road standard. It was like a Mills-ish standard. And so I always have openings left on the ground so that if I want to, I could add more tables, extend out if I have more brick, or others can join in. So. I mean, I'd love to have a forest maybe and some farming areas as well, but and probably a little bit more of a town, just because the castle's getting bigger, so now they got to increase the size of the walls and stuff. So
there you go. Talk a little bit more about the structure of the castle and this tower design that you have here. How well does this travel? And then as you set this up here, how has that worked?
Have you been watching me for the past few days? I arrived here and all the bases were solid. They were in the bottom of my trailer. They had weight on top of them, so they didn't move. Most of the walls survived, but these towers crumbled. And there's the towers are, in most cases, the towers are two sections high. And I just didn't have the brick to beef it up enough to make it strong enough so it wouldn't crumble. So it's like the outer walls are one brick thick. There's like 4 studs in. There's another wall that's, a column of 1x2s. And I should have gone to 2x2s or 2x3s to make it stronger. But because I used all those bricks inside the castle, for the base, I just didn't have the space I didn't have the brick to build it stronger. So I hope to go to like Brick World Chicago this year or something. Like I'd like to do a few more events. And if I do that, then I'm definitely going to have to refigure out how to build this so it doesn't crumble. and make me cry. But
Another fantastic element of this build is the houses and kind of the town buildings inside the castle walls themselves. And I love it because as you look down in there, you really get that medieval effect of the narrow streets and the tall buildings around you.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, a lot of these, like I've been building castles. This is probably my 5th castle. And as I built castles, I would build the houses as well. And I basically, for every castle, if I need to alter the houses, I will. So I made these ones, like these used to be more rectangular or bigger buildings. I basically narrowed them down to 6 studs or 8 studs wide, just to fit the footprint. But a lot of these buildings are some of the original ones I would have built, 10 years ago and just modified for this castle. So, including the nice orange one that's at the back that I get people hate me for because it's orange and it's like, why? But I also try to put all the different colors in, right? If I have bricks in like the butter yellow or the lighter yellows and stuff, I'll build a house in that color just so that I get, just because it's more to look at. It gives pops of color here and there, and I think it stands out as well. So
you talked about obviously some of the perils of bringing it to this show. You hope to bring this build to other shows. What are some of the packaging things that you've learned, or maybe tips you can give to other people if they're also looking to transport their builds?
Don't transport stuff in the winter in the cold weather, because I've had a few bins crack on me, and I don't know if that's because of the weight on the lids that they would just crack because of the coldness. But it's obviously buy storage to fit what you're building. Build modular. Unfortunately, building things that fit getting bins that fit 48 by 48 base plates is hard to do. And I wish there was like a 16-inch by 16-inch bin that someone made somewhere. I use all plastic bins for transporting, because if I do have a leak in my trailer or something like that, I don't want the box to deteriorate. So that's the other thing, is like I buy back plastic bins. I know I can get cardboard boxes that are the exact size I need, but I don't trust them. So.
No, that makes sense. Well, thank you so much for taking us through this whole layout. This is fantastic. I'm glad you could make it down here to BrickFair.